Hello, everybody. You might be wondering where Robin is, and it's because I've gone solo. I've got rid of him. No, I haven't done that. I'm going to add him in now because I don't trust our stupid software to add Robin in because it doesn't ever seem to like it. So here's Robin in giant mode. Hello, Robin.
Hello,
We're
am I
online.
there?
We're live.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, mother? Can everybody hear Robin? Let us know in the comments below.
I'm going big and small.
Big and small. Big and small. Hello to everybody tonight. We've got some usual faces. We've got Ed online. We've got David Christie. We've got Under Pank. And we've got Richard Smith, who has kindly donated us £1. A solid pound. Our
Oi.
very first donation on YouTube. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you, Richard.
I enabled
That's awesome.
that whole thing ages ago and never remembered it. And it's there. So if anybody else wants to do that, then
Everybody
go
wants to
for it.
give us money.
Yep,
Then
feel
please
free.
do.
Throw it at us, share us with money. And Richard, if you want to ask us any question, stick it in there, and as you've donated money, we will answer it for you. Hopefully hobby related, but maybe you're in the middle of doing some exam and you really need an answer to something, and we will do our best.
If it's chemistry, I might have a chance.
Robin's your man.
I
Tuck the dollar into your G-string like a Vegas stripper. Yeah.
uh, Ed, I'm not wearing any G-string.
My underwear matches my bra, and I'm not wearing one.
Uh,
Hello, everybody.
you always take it too far, don't you?
Yes,
I,
yes, that's how I do.
talking of a pound, I had a vaguely amusing incident in WH Smith today, where chocolate bars were advertised as two for a pound. So I bought two for a pound. It turned out they were a pound each anyway. It's like, so technically it was correct, but it wasn't the deal I was looking for.
That's how they get you, though, in the
Yeah.
technicalities. So here we are, we're online. Underworlds, Beastgrave, possibly even some online discussion as well.
Ooh.
So we've got some questions from our Patreoners, and hopefully all our Patreoners are, on the Discord. I am just sending out messages to everybody to tell everybody around the world that we are live.
Everybody everywhere.
Everybody everywhere, everybody everywhere.
I've got my phone here ready for Discord.
Yeah.
Ready for Discord!
Doesn't have quite the same effect, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's just, funny enough, I've gone straight into where we were last time, and it's just because picture of Jason's fish and chips.
Oh, chips. Chips precious.
Let's get that in early.
Precious. So here we go. We shall crash on with our nattering, our general blathering, and we will talk anything Underworlds related, as we always do. And like I say, Richard, do feel free to ask us a question. We will answer it for you for your
Absolutely.
kindest donation.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions here from our Patreoners, and the first one on the list now is, yes, Jason, you have tuned in just in time for chips. So the first question on the list is, what are your thoughts on the updated bar list as Fired Up and Archer's Focus are no longer restricted? Will you always be taking them in this Fired Up and must-have card? So I don't know about you, Robin, but I feel that Fired Up for me can be a bit of a possible. It depends on the warband you've got, because I don't know if I'd take them with despoilers, because they could be a bit, if you haven't got quite the right warband you're up against, getting that inspiration could be really tough.
Spoilers is one that I possibly wouldn't take it with. I don't know that I'd take it with Grimwatch. I don't know.
They could be tough.
They've got so many other good cards. I don't know whether it will make it. But I do kind of feel like it's a bit of a utility card, and it is really good. It's kind of like the new escalation, isn't it? And I think that's why they've de-restricted it, because they want you to be able to have a fairly easy card that you can score, no matter how badly things are going. I mean, okay, if things go really badly,
you're not going to score that because everyone's dead.
you might not get any inspiration. But I kind of feel like that's why it's in there, because it's there's no escalation now, and I'm trying to think what else. There were a couple of cards like that where you kind of had them.
There's no escalation. There's no like the thingy in the shadows, thingy in the darkness. Can't remember what it was.
Hello
in the darkness. There's no. There's so many cards that have gone now with Shadespire having bitten the dust. It's nice to get a few slightly easier, and it's only one glory as well still, so it doesn't really need to be restricted, I feel. And I feel kind of possibly the same with I'm not sure about Archer's Focus, but I guess it's because it's there's less other damage cards and less, like trap and pit trap. Well, pit traps there was no trap and stuff like that. I don't know if that's why they de-restricted Archer's Focus.
I don't know. I literally have on my notes, Pete, Archer's Focus, not sure.
Well, there we go.
I don't know. Because, I don't feel like the meta's changed that much to warrant it. Maybe people just weren't taking it and they decided it was worth it. I mean, without well, like you say, they've taken out Trap and I say Twist and Knife. Twist and Knife didn't work. So I don't quite know why they feel it's better now. Still, maybe they're just some of the warbands that could really utilise it are now not as powerful because there are less things like Advancing Strike have gone and stuff like that. That it was quite easy to score. And even easier to score with Archer's Focus. Perhaps they've cycled out. I haven't taken it that much. I mean, there aren't that many warbands that rely on shooting. I mean, the Wizard ones. I think I did take it. This game hasn't gone out yet, but I think it is in my deck for the Eyes of the Nine that's coming out on Patreon this week.
Yeah, I wonder if it's. I mean, in the new warbands, there's not that much range in there, is there? I think there's one Archer in the Wild Hunt. There's no ranged attacks in the Grimwatch, and there's two fairly naff archers in the Despoilers, so yeah, could possibly. Timothy did not take it at the last Grand Clash. It's probably a solid pick, Tim. Although you took about 30 cards, didn't you? So I mean, would you notice if it was in there? For anyone not sure, Timothy obviously took. I can't remember where you came now. It was top 16.
Yeah, with his
it was about 12th or 13th place you got, but yeah, so nice work there. Okay, so that's the first one down. The new bar list for me, I feel has. I mean, it's not got a lot in it now, and I think of the cards that are in it, there's only a few that I think are must-haves. There's Calculated Risk. It's almost definitely a must in there. There's
unless you're playing the Ghosts.
Yeah, probably not going to take it for them. What other ones? There's the +2 wound, -2 move one. My brain's gone dead on the card names. And there's also
Sudden Growth
and possibly
Sudden
Pit
Growth.
Trap.
Yeah, I mean that's that seems to be back in vogue now because a lot of the new Grimwatch, Beastgrave warbands are quite quick. So it's not too much of a pain. If you've got a movement of 5, having -2 isn't slow you down.
Yeah, exactly.
Comparatively that much.
And there's a lot more movementy and push cards and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter if you only move 2 or 3 because you'll probably have something like Shifting Shadows where you can just jump across the other side or things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the next question is: do you think they'll bring out another pack of cards or another card pack? And do you think that they need one? So I presume this is in relation to the leader pack that we had in the first season and the Powers Unbound pack that we had in season DOS.
Yeah, well, again, looking at my notes, I say yes, no. So I do think they'll bring one out. No, I don't think they need it.
Yeah.
They'll bring it out because we'll buy it. But I don't think either pack has added anything to the game, really, apart from controversy and bitterness and resentment.
I think the leader pack gave a few cards that weren't too bad for like Sepulchral Guard. There were a few cards in there because there was one which enabled you to get glory for having 2 people standing next to your leader and some things like that, which were great for them.
Yeah, but I'm not sure they were game defining. No. I don't know. I mean, they might have made. I don't know if they. I can't remember now if it made the guard particularly better at the time. But there's nothing. I never felt anybody's particularly done well out of it that needed to. And I just feel like they add more confusion because it's like, well, first of all, there's a confusion like were they going to cycle out or not and all that kind of thing. And then I don't know. I don't think they're needed. They're only available with the cycling out. They're only available for 14 months of play roughly. Including 2 summers worth, which is people don't seem to play so much over the summer.
Get a bit quieter.
And I don't quite know whether they get difficult to tell, but I'm not entirely sure they get play tested fully because the last pack were hamstrung almost straight away.
Yeah,
weren't
it came out about a week before the Grand Clash. Some of the best cards in it, which featured quite heavily, I think, in some of the higher ranking Grand Clash decks, then got put onto the bar list very shortly afterwards. It wasn't so much Powers Unbound as Powers mostly quickly bound in the end. So and yeah. I kind of agree.
Yeah, I don't really feel like we need them, but I'm sure we'll get them.
Yes, I think I agree on that one. We probably don't need them. We'll probably still get
But
them.
then Games Workshop make most of their money out of selling us things we don't really need. So.
yeah, I guess if you
Or
really
indeed all
look
of
at
their
this,
money.
the whole thing's kind of based around not needing philosophy. So,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
I like the restricted card pool a bit more because it takes away some of the brain hurting of trying to build decks in the first place. And I like including more warband specific cards if they're better than the universal cards. So
Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing which I've only just thought of regarding this potential extra deck is that any additional faction cards will, to an extent, be superfluous because you've already got a fully working faction deck. Now, I know obviously you could supplement any extras in if they were better, but it adds an extra level of do we really need this because we've already got. If we want to just play full faction, we can.
Yeah, that's a very good point there. It's a very good point. So our next question on the list is what are we most looking forward to when the Wolf Riders come out? The Warband, the Universal Upgrade Ploys, the Universal Objectives, and I'm going to add into this as well, like the Warband
dice.
specific cards. Oh, obviously the dice. Everyone wants the dice. So what are you looking forward to most, Robin, in the Wolf Warband when it turns up, the Wolf Band?
The universal cards, I think, but I always get very excited about the universal cards, and I kind of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it because I really look forward to them, and because of the nature of the game, it's always a little bit disappointing because it's never ending super brilliant because there can't be ending super brilliant, even though you want there to be something super brilliant. But if there was, then that would be banned or restricted, and it would spoil the games. So there's that, and then there's the fact that I then, whenever a new release comes out, I find myself, as you said, playing catch up and getting confused with what cards are best and thinking, wasn't it better when we didn't have to pick between these, or an old favourite card goes out. So I kind of have this kind of love-hate relationship for it. I love it when the game changes, but at the same time I want it to stay the same. So
we did just fine with 4 warbands and 16 cards, and you won't hear me complain about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a bit like that. It is definitely a bit like that. I do always have that sort of, oh god, there's more cards, and now I've got to try and work out all over again which the best cards are and what the rankings of them is, and that's always a headache for me. I do enjoy some of the ploys when you first look through the cards. You look at one of those cards like Mazig's Many Legs or something, just for the artwork. Sometimes you look at it going, oh, this card looks brilliant, even if like 10 minutes later you're rereading it going, no, it's rubbish, never going to pick it. But I do enjoy that initial rush of excitement that some of the cards.
I'm intrigued to see whether there's going to be any hint as to what poison might mean, or the lost pages. Whether there's going to be any new extra little rules around that, or
well, that's an interesting thing. I
can't remember when in the sequence Acolyte of the Cataphragms came out, but it'd be interesting to see whether there's a similar card for the poisons. I don't know.
I would say that Acolyte of the Cataphragms didn't come out that early. It came along later on.
Right.
But I'd be guessing. I think now.
I can't remember. I played it with Eyes of the Nine fairly early on, I think, but I can't remember how early on.
I think it was before the last 2 warbands came out.
It was at least, yeah. I can't remember if it came out, but it might even have come out when there were only 4. But as I've said, I can't remember. So it's probably best not to just sit here trying to guess.
Well, that's kind of like half of what this whole thing's about, really. Us guessing stuff. I had to say, I'm kind of looking forward to, not necessarily. I mean, there's been some comments already about the old Warhammer Wolf Riders nostalgia vibe off of them and stuff. The models are okay. I don't mind the models. I'm more looking forward to what the stats of the fighters are going to be like and what their inspiration's going to be, because every time when you
I'm quite intrigued by inspiration, and I'm interested to see whether there's going to be like a mechanic, as we've talked about before, with the wolf being able to go off on its own, or vice versa, the archer being left, or wherever it is, the goblin being left.
Archer being left behind after you slay the wolf. that could be quite interesting.
Interesting. Andrew says he's looking forward to the universals, especially the objectives, as they can potentially change every warband. Well, that's true. They really do open up the game, Andrew. The only thing I have with them at the moment is that I feel like they're really quite nicely balanced at the moment with the objectives. So I would worry that it might tip one way or the other, or they might undo the good work on the objectives
Another
side,
warband will come out and suddenly it'll all
or
be
overdo it.
offensive again, or something
Yeah,
like that.
and of course we're going to be looking at. I think I can't remember if it's been official yet, or certainly from the leaks, it looks like there's going to be 3 warbands released sort of internationally, because some of them are already in other countries, but because we're going to get hit by the Dreadfame warbands too, which will have a whole host of extra universal cards in them. So it's actually going to be quite a going into Christmas. It's going to be quite a massive change to the meta.
We were saying for ages, it's good that they're spreading them out, and you're only getting 1 warband at a time. You don't have all these cards that you have to then decide on, and then bam, we're going to get 3 warbands in one go. Oh, for God's sakes! We just talked about this. Come on, you were doing fine. But yeah,
looting/destroying an objective inspired Wolf Rider. Interesting.
That could be quite a good one, yeah, but could be quite restrictive. I don't know.
You might not be playing fired up with that one.
Possibly not, but it depends.
It'd be quite good though if they've got something like infestation that the other goblins have. If you've got a decent, reliable objective destroying mechanic, it could be interesting because infestation could get easier and easier to score as the game went on.
That is true. That is true. It all depends on what ploys they have that come out that support them, and there could be a thing which is like there could be a ploy that says for every Wolf Rider you have standing on an objective, you can turn it into a lethal hex or something like that, or something like that. I don't know.
That would be mental.
It would be mental. It would be very mental.
Yeah, I think though it's got that kind of mechanic would have to be fairly hard to do and undoable, because if you could completely destroy somebody's game plan.
Yeah, there is that. Maybe not every Wolf Rider, maybe a Wolf Rider or something like that. A bit like the tree people have the Elthari's Guardians have the one where if she's staying on an objective, she heals a wound and destroys the objective. So maybe there'll be a similar one for the Wolf Riders. Maybe they turn it into a lethal hex and they inspire or something like that.
Yeah, that again would be. I think again it can only be restricted to one of the card, but I do hope they have a more generic inspire mechanic. When they're subtly different, it confuses the hell out of me.
I'm trying to work out. The one thing that really drives me mad is when each party member in the warband has slightly different inspire mechanics. Like the Eyes of the Nine, Kacharik he inspires if someone casts a spell next to him. Vortimus is like if he makes a ranged spell attack or something, and the other ones get a ranged attack one or something. It's just oh god. And
the Ilthari's different. I don't think it's their inspire mechanic, but they're slightly different rules when you roll crits or don't roll crits or whatever. If one
rolls a crit on defense, then you take a wound. Someone rolls a crit on offense, then you take a wound, even if you save it. And gets a bit chaotic. I'm a bit simple in that respect. I like slightly simpler. Yeah.
Well, things are going to get massively more complicated for us anyway, aren't they? Because we've been playing mostly with the new warbands. In each battle we've done since Beastgrave came out, I don't think we've done any Nightbolt versus Nightbolt or Shades battles. That's always had one Grimwatch, and we said that we would do battle reports for the faction specific cards, because obviously each box now is playable straight out of the box, but the combinations and permutations of that with a sudden doubling of the warbands,
it's gone a bit mental all of a sudden.
Quite big. We could be if we play just out of the box games across all 6 things. I can't do the maths to work out how many different games that is, but we will definitely be there till after Christmas.
Many games
without ever using a universal card, which I'm guessing people probably don't want.
Yes.
But we will be putting that when the time comes to our $10 patrons. One of the bonuses they get to kind of dictate
pick the games
a little bit.
And pick the games as exemplified by our Orc versus the Spoiler match the other week. That was a Patreon pick, so yes, they will get to do that.
Yeah. So, but I'd be interested to know generally what people think, whether they want to see all universal card games or just faction-specific games.
We'll have to do a double vote. We'll have to do what warband matchups do they want to see first. So do they want to see like Wolf Riders versus Grimwatch, or Wolf Riders versus the Wild Hunt? And then secondarily, do they want just warband-specific decks, or do they want to see the Wolves using a warband-specific deck and then their opponents can use like all of the cards or something like that? I don't know.
I mean, when we did our do people want to see us play Dreadfane? Nobody really said yes.
Yeah,
so is anybody going to be interested in seeing the Dreadfane warbands?
They might now that they're available to everybody. Because I mean, if someone had told me before, "Oh, do you want me to show you this warband that you can't have versus one of the warbands you can have?" I know I would have said no. Why would I? I don't care about that warband. I don't own it, so I don't care about it.
And I assume that the Dreadfane warbands are coming out. They're still going to be Dreadfane. They're not actually part of Beastgrave.
True. I mean,
assume that's going to be an interesting one as well. Not that particularly has any bearing on whether we play them or not, but they will actually be a whole new set of cards that are really kind of separate, usable.
Good point, yeah, because the card count, we've seen how many cards there are, and there's not enough to support those two warbands at the same time as all the other warbands that we know are coming out, plus all of the in fact, I don't think there's enough space in all of those cards to support another 60 card deck like we've seen previously as well, so could be interesting how that one goes. Andrew Marlowe suggests that maybe a faction game once every 3 weeks. Well, that could be one of the things we do, Andrew. The problem we've got is, we meet every Wednesday and we record 2 games, and we generally record the same matchup twice to give a slightly better feel of the decks that have been picked and the warbands being played, and also so that we have one match for YouTube, and all our Patreoners of $5 and up get a second game, so they'll get 3 games a month, extra that don't appear on YouTube. And so when you do that, it can definitely start to eat up your time and your resource. So we could do one game, one faction only, one every 3 weeks, but even then, at the minute, with the combination of 5 warbands, you've suddenly got, even though 3 of them have already played against each other, you've got at least 6 more games there. So that's many months worth. So it is definitely something we could do, but it's a question of what balance do we get there.
Yes, got some comments coming in here. The Wigglefish has said they're definitely not their own. They're definitely their own thing, not Beastgrave. Yeah, but the numbers of the cards go up to 60 more cards. Yeah, that's in Dreadfane, isn't it? It goes up to 120, I think. 124. So, and Gareth is back from work, and it's AOS time. So, hello, Gareth.
You come back from work, and we're the first thing you get. I don't know if that's just a good thing or not.
Of course, going back to Andrew's question about the box, I'd completely forgotten, and I do forget, that we also had the Echoes of Glory box. That was kind of like the repackaged Nightvolt, when they repackaged the Shadespire warbands for Nightvolt, the core set ones, the Reavers and the Stormcast Eternals, the Steelheart. They obviously did a whole new Universals. There's no indication that they're going to do that.
I don't think they've got the room again. I don't think they have the room because of the number of cards they got spare. If they added in Stormsire and the Bride Queen from the previous season, plus the cards each, I don't think they've got enough room. So,
which is interesting. Does that mean that there's going to be less people playing? Assuming that the game is growing, there'll be less people able to play the Bride Queen and the Curse Breakers.
Unless they release them with their own cards that aren't again that are numbered like 1 to 24, a bit like the Dreadfane ones.
Well, possibly.
Yeah. Which just gets a bit annoying.
Yeah, it's all very
after
complicated.
After it's just irritating.
I mean, whenever one thing we can be sure of is the Games Workshop won't do what we expect them to do.
That is true.
They'll probably give them free with Kellogg's cereal or something. Didn't see that one coming.
Well, there is a card featured in the next White Dwarf, isn't there? There'll be a new card on the front, although it's likely to be a alt art of one of the pre-existing cards.
Like the healing potion.
Yeah. So, although the images that have circulated around, it's not an obvious card, although it's an alt art, so it's not like you could guess anyway. But I think the artwork of the card itself is actually not in English either, so you can't read it and say, oh, it's confusion with the different artwork. You can't actually make out the text on it. So
okay, I think we'll only be next week. We'll find out, won't we?
That's true. Yeah, I think they'll be out soon. So that is definitely easy enough. But Jason didn't say that he would like to see how the Dreadfane warbands match up against the main warbands, and I do think, well, we do know the Banshees did win the SoCal event, so obviously the Banshees, I still think they've got a lot of punch in the Banshees, and I think the Stormcast might do better with a wider range of cards.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think the sort of ghosts, but either set of ghosts are pretty strong because of because of the extra lethal hexes in Beastgrave. they're quite strong because they're not affected by them. And some of the 4 Lady Harrow and all that like that,
they're
they
team
are
dodge as well
tough.
on to
They are
start and stuff
strong,
like that.
aren't
Pretty hard to get.
they? Yeah.
It's pretty hard to stab a ghost, as Ed says.
Yes, Ed.
Although interestingly, with only 4 members and 3 members, they're not going to play the objective game.
No, that is true.
Not as
That's
much
very
anyway.
true. No.
So let's move on to another question.
Another question.
Do you think that the players need to buy the latest warbands from the universal cards to stay competitive? I think I would say that's a solid yes. Yeah.
Yes. The game's going to be designed that way, and I actually think rotation makes it even more so, because if you only have one season of cards, then by the end of the second season, everybody else who's playing has got double the cards you have to choose from.
Yeah. So, and every warband pretty much has at least one card in there that you want.
Yeah, pretty much
to be competitive. Obviously, if you're playing with friends and you're not playing competitively, you're not interested in trying to win glass, or even if you are interested in trying to win glass but you have no chance of it, like you or I, then you want all the warbands. However, I think it's pretty much a yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I still think you should take Eyes of the Nine to the next Grand Clash as well.
Isn't that the next question?
Yeah, written by.
Because my next thing on the paper says Eyes of the Nine.
The next question though is was Grand Clash, what are you thinking of taking? And so yours is, are you seriously thinking of taking the Eyes of the Nine?
I think so, yeah. There are a lot of warbands to choose from now, aren't there? And I think, like the Eyes of the Nine, I always really enjoy playing them. I've got 3 written down here as my answer. I've got Eyes of the Nine / the Gits / the Oryx.
Ooh.
But I think the Gits will be too much of a head scratch for me. I was going to use a rude word there. I thought of scratch instead. But the Oryx, I feel like I'm inspired by Timothy to try and bring those and try and do something with them. If he's going to be there. If he's going to be there, he'll probably kick my ass, so perhaps I shouldn't do that. But yeah, I think probably the Eyes of the Nine are a favourite at the moment. And occasionally I have this crazy idea to try and make the Chosen Axes great again. Because I kind of feel like with the objective meta, they might be better than they were in Night.
So
better than they were in Night Vault because they're suspect Inspire condition. It might be a little bit easier now, but I haven't dug them out for months and months and months, so I don't know. But I ought to try and play them in the next coming months. But it's not really that long to the Grand Clash by the time you factor in Christmas.
It's not, when you factor in Christmas and how quickly we can turn around how much we can turn around our games and stuff like that. I can see us taking very underprepared decks to the Grand Clash.
Yeah, which might be better because I overprepared the last one and it was terrible. So
you did make a lot of last minute changes, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I blame Power Unbound for that.
Yeah, but one of the good things is that there won't be a Power Unbound release just before, so there won't be anything like that. So that could help. Well, Andrew, you say will the Eyes be competitive by January? We'll see. Well, based currently on the information I have to hand, they don't seem to do too bad if you go magic heavy. They do all right then. So
that game hasn't gone out yet.
No, it hasn't yet. So no spoilers, but they hold their own.
It does help if you roll well.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm bitter enough about that. So my choices for the Grand Clash, I don't know what I would go with. I'm tempted by Lady Harrow just because I think they're really easy to play, and I think I could do with an easy one.
Except you'll keep forgetting what each one does.
I keep forgetting that ploy that helps me keep alive. Or I might just take. I'll probably just take the latest shiny warband in the hopes that because people won't know very much about them, I might do a bit better. But then I've got less chance of winning any kind of faction awards in that situation. So I definitely don't want to take a Shadespire warband. I think I almost definitely want to take one of the latest season warbands. Almost definitely won't be Grashrak's Despoilers. Although I think Grashrak might do better if you try and ignore objectives a bit more with him and try and play him a bit more like Reavers, maybe. Don't know.
I haven't played him yet,
so
I've got no feel for them at all.
That's a good point. And yeah, I still haven't got a clue who I want to play. Like you say, it's November now. It's only about 2 months till the Grand Clash.
Yeah.
So
which is a bit
Not
terrifying.
actually sure what I'm going to do, but hopefully we'll see some of you guys
No,
there. Russ Bellamy says,
I might just go and eat lunch.
just being Bugmans all day, just sitting there.
Drink tea.
Anybody wants to bring me tea,
Yep.
that'll be fine.
Ed suggested we go super anti-meta and shot the rest of the field and win it all. Well, I would love to do that, and I'll probably do the first hit.
But it'll be anti-meta
but
for a reason.
maybe not the rest.
It won't be anti-meta. It'll just be non-meta.
Non-meta.
It won't be anti-meta.
Yeah.
It won't be going completely.
If you had anti-meta and meta, and they like met on the board, with the whole thing just
gone, just suddenly ceases to be. Russ Bellamy says that we should go underdogs and take the fast riders. They seem to have completely disappeared of late. We did play fast riders versus. It was the Gun Dwarfs, wasn't it? Just before they landed, and they didn't do too bad for me. I think I
played Tome, didn't I?
You did play Tomes, and in the second game, I came pretty close. I can't remember if I won the second game, and don't want to really reveal any spoilers, but I think Fast Riders still do pretty nice toe to toe. A good solid axe to the face still sorts most people out.
They must suffer from the objective better because they can't get very many, and B, it's harder to control them. I don't know. Yeah. There isn't time to play all these warbands.
God, I wish they did. Well, anybody who wants to sign up on Patreon, the more people we have, the more chance we could get a game a day. Would people even be able to watch a game a day? If you could
that's the dream.
That is the dream. Well, if we've got some serious kit coming, we'd be able to play live. We wouldn't have any editing overheads at all then. Just a game a day live with the agents of Sigmar.
We do have to be in the same room.
Yeah, there is that. But
anyway,
there is that.
You could just buy. I'll let you know when a house comes up for sale down here, and you can buy it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Just next door. Knock through the room upstairs. Nice little studio area.
Semi-detached, so it would be.
I'm sure the wives wouldn't mind that at all. So so you've got your choices. I still don't have choices for Grand Clash. I've got no idea what I'm going to pick. I want the Nurgle to come out, but they won't be out in time, sadly. So
they'll probably land the day before.
They probably will. If they do,
they've done that before.
If they do, I'm buying them. I don't care. I'll just turn up with a warband deck. I don't care. I've got Nurgle.
Brilliant.
And then the next question on the list was: is there anything in the game which you think promotes a negative play experience, or is there anything you've come across which could potentially be used in a negative play style? I'm not a massive fan of the all eggs in one basket approach, and it's a valid and very viable approach, but I'm not a massive fan of it. I find it a bit dull, because if your opponent's plans come off, then they've got this nigh unstoppable, unkillable, really devastating fighter that can just cause you no end of grief, and you've got almost no chance of taking them out. And if it goes the other way, like you play a second best of 3 match and you chase that person down, it just becomes a game of chase that person and try and catch the pigeon kind of situation, and you either catch them and kill them and it makes for a dull game, or they still manage to do it and you're screwed anyway.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've not really thought of it in those terms, but when you're playing a game normally against Monarch or Stormsire or even Vortibus, to talk about the Eyes of the Nine again, you kind of, it is looking like, can I get lucky and take them out, or will they avoid that and therefore win the game?
It was a bit like there was the it started with the Cataphrone relics and then keys and stuff like that, and then there was the tombs to an extent. Now it's just I mean, it's a valid play style, but I just find it a bit boring.
Yeah, I'm actually quite bad at spotting negative play styles. Reading Andrew's question, I was like, well, I don't really know, because I always, and you do too, we kind of pick decks that are interesting and try and make a bit different with them, so you don't, therefore it would never occur to me, and again, like you say, it's not an invalid play style, but it would never occur to me to play a deck that kind of turtled up or exploited relics as a classic one. It would never occur to me ever to explore that. And I think I always tend to play the game the way I think it's intended to play, rather than trying to find ways of breaking it in inverted commas.
I think there's definitely an element to every game we play where we try and build decks that aren't just, and this is something a lot of people don't like about our channel, and something that a lot of other people do like about our channel, in that we don't try and build tournament winning decks all the time. We're always trying to try things out, try different cards and combinations, doing lots of different things with them, and trying to pick things that we haven't necessarily done before and things that we think might play well. We're not trying to create a deck that we think is going to absolutely pound everybody in Winners Glass, or at least
No.
we're trying to make sense that's going to be viable on the tabletop. We're not just going to take a load of cards that you can't score and stuff like that, unless it's unintentionally. But we're not going for that. So we're just generally trying to make something, as Andrew Marlowe says, something playing much more in the spirit of the game.
Yes. Yeah. It's nice to try different things, nice to try different cards.
Yeah.
And also, that's what I quite like about this sort of slightly slower release this time. You've kind of got more time to experiment. The meta's changing maybe a bit more slowly, so you can kind of just try different things. I'm desperate to try one thing in particular that hasn't come off yet for me, but maybe it will this week. No spoilers. Trying different things, seeing whether they work, which probably they might work in one game, but they wouldn't work consistently over a tournament, and therefore your tournament decks are by necessity less interesting because they need to be more reliable.
Competitive, yeah. You need cards that you don't have any worry over. You might have a card or two, a bit like a rebound or stuff like that, but rebound's only as reliable as your dice. And I think it was Nick Baton said in the Grand Clash in the summer we went on that he was playing that, and he had that card like 7 or 8 times, and it failed every single time for him. So it's only as good as the dice when they succeed. So we've had a couple more questions pop up in the channel. Wigglefish did point out that we could go for Best in Faction award, so I might take Sepulchral Guard. You never know, might stand a chance for an offense. I think offensive Sepulchral Guard, if you load them up with a load of weapons, and just send them off as little very slow guided missiles, and then just wait for your opponent to come to you, I reckon that could work quite nicely.
Yeah, sort of mines rather than slow guided missile.
Yeah, basically getting near them a bit like a claymore, and suddenly they just go off. And also, Gareth Steele asked, how long have we been mates? Many moons.
Yes. Pete had no facial hair when I met him.
I barely even past puberty, I think.
How long have we been friends? Well, I left where we met at work, and I left there in 2002. So it was before that. So it must be coming up to 20 years.
I don't know if we were very good friends at that stage, because I think we knew each other through a mutual friend of ours.
So we're very good friends now, really.
We're just around each other a lot more.
Yeah.
Because we knew each other through a mutual friend who used to be the singer in my band, and who I think started at where we worked same time as you. I don't know if you knew each other before that.
Yeah, he started work there. He started work there when I did.
And did you know each other before that, or did you just all start at the same time? Because it was like a student program thing, wasn't it, or something, or graduate program?
Yeah, it's a graduate recruitment thing. So we met there, and but it was a couple of years before I met you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I met you through work first.
Yeah.
And then not realising that you two were friends. It's only when he said, "Oh, he's in my band." I'm like, "Oh, well, I actually worked with him."
He was in my band.
Almost daily basis. And then we used to role play together because that friend Dave, he was into D&D, so he set up a role playing group and invited me and Pete.
And a couple of other
and then
mates.
Kind of went that way. And actually, from our role playing group, we're pretty much the only people with children.
We are,
which gave us a something to bond over.
Mostly just sit there next to each other, looking very tired. I'm so tired. Yeah. Are you tired? I'm very tired. Are you tired? Yeah, I'm also very tired.
I'm very tired. But it is quite interesting. It's kind of going off on rather off Underworlds topic now. I don't know how many of you out there watching at the moment have got children, but when you have children and then you have friends who don't have children, it's very hard for the two of you to relate to one another, because they just don't understand what you're going through, because they haven't got children. They might think they do, but they don't, and then you can't remember what it was like to not be covered in vomit,
other people's feces.
So you kind of drift apart. And it was interesting. I was just hilariously, I think Pete knows what story I'm going to tell now. I'm a stay-at-home dad, but I was talking, I enjoy looking at Twitter something, and my Dave, who's can be a bit pompous, said, well, I haven't got time to look at Twitter. He said this
is live, Robin, by the way.
With respect, Rob,
Dave could be
I'm
watching.
a lot busier than you. With respect, Rob. And I think I had 2 children at the time, and one was a baby. I remember just sitting there staring at him. I just can't say anything. Pete could probably see my vein throbbing on my forehead.
I thought Robin had stroked out at that point. I was just sort of sitting there like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that the whole thing when you hear parents say things like you don't have children, you don't understand. When you're on the side of not having children, you think, God, you're such a pompous arse. It's not that hard. Everyone has kids at some point. And then you go onto the other side and you have kids, and you're like, oh my God, it's all true. You don't have a clue until you have children.
They were lying to us.
Yeah, they actually said it was easier than it is. I was literally standing in a queue in Asda today, and the mother in front of me had a toddler and a baby in a pushchair, and the baby looked at me and then just vomited all down its top, and the mum's like trying to unpack her shopping and stop the toddler running away, and now she's got to clean up the baby vomit. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm so glad I'm not you right now, because I don't have to do that now. My children are old enough.
Yeah, although ironically, I remember it being in the supermarket, and my oldest now is 14.
He threw up all over himself.
No. This was when he was a baby. When he was a baby, he was about 2, going on 3, and he was lying on the floor in the supermarket aisle, kicking his feet against the ground.
Yeah.
I must have only had one child at the time, and I couldn't do anything. He was there kicking away, and this person went past me and said, "I hate to tell you this, but it only gets worse." And I was like, how can it possibly be worse than this? And I couldn't possibly believe it. But it was true. It is worse. It's different.
Sorry, it's definitely different. And sorry to all our non-children having patronage, but all I can say is
I'm just relying on most of you having children.
We resent you in the deep way that we can't.
They're wonderful.
Oh yeah,
and they will light
definitely.
up your life, and you think they're brilliant.
And but to tie that back into the hobby a little bit, one of the things I love about Underworlds is that it is doable when you've got children. It's one of those things that you can fit it in. I mean, we can't because it takes us ages, but it's the kind of thing that you can theoretically fit in. And with Warhammer Underworlds coming along, hopefully, you can play these things in much shorter time frames. It's not like a Warhammer and 40k where you need like an entire evening. You're like, I don't have an entire evening. I have children. But with that kind of thing, you could theoretically pop over a mate's house for an hour and do, have a game of something, and then go, right, I've got to sprint back now and hose down the vomit off the walls and stuff like that, because, I've left the children with the wife and she's going to skin me alive. So I do love the fact that these smaller games can be played
absolutely
in a tight time frame.
Blackjack Legacy last night, his stream was all about accessibility and playing. I didn't listen to as much of it as I wanted to, but basically it was how people, he's trying to make the game as accessible as possible, and bringing down the size of the game is a really good way to do that. And I mean that is why that's really why we've been able to be successful at this, because of Underworld's such a small game, because we couldn't record. We've talked about that before, but we couldn't record 4 games of AOS or keep up with the sheer just level of painting and knowledge required.
Just wouldn't have a hope.
I think Blackjack Legacy last night was talking about how he doesn't like list building, and that's why he likes Warcry and Kill Team, because there's a lot less list building. Certainly Warcry, it's pretty much straight out of the box.
Yeah, definitely.
And I commented, list building is a young man's game. Because when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, or pre-children, or definitely pre-children, pre-girlfriend, I had loads of time on my hands, and I would build lists on bits of paper in those days, over and over again, and I would retune and there just isn't the time for that. And deck building is a little bit like that. Somebody, I think it might have been VJ, said deck building. He's the same with deck building.
Yeah.
And deck building is a little bit like that, but because it's slightly smaller, it's a bit more manageable. But I do spend too long building decks.
Well, you say that, but you have won the vast majority of our games, and you probably spend longer building your deck than I do. So maybe there's a correlation.
Well, yeah, possibly. But that's because you're busy editing the videos.
There is that. There is that aspect of it. So I'm going to use that as my excuse for losing the majority of the games. I'm too busy concentrating on all the other aspects. But
yeah, Jason says his eldest loves the game, so he plays it with him. My oldest, he's in that stage where anything I do is awful and terrible. So he does like playing games, but he's not going to get into Underworlds because I do that and I enjoy it, and therefore it's crap.
So he'll probably play like the immediately, like he'll probably be a massive fan of Aristea or something like that. But Underworlds, rubbish.
But I think he'd actually be really good at it, but I can't get him into it.
Just to go back to your point very quickly about the number of lists that you would build. You'd never had a chance of getting the army. You'd never own all those models, but you'd make these army lists up. And
the
number of D&D characters that I created in my life that never saw the light of day, with the best stats and story backgrounds and everything like that, was just
Traveller.
amazing.
I used to roll up endless Traveller characters.
Yeah, that kind of
actually
thing.
in Traveller, the character generation was the best bit of the game.
Yeah, except that you'd roll your dice for your character. Now that's a rubbish roll. I'm going to start again with that one. No, I did roll 4 5s. What can I say? I did roll 4 5s, so there we go. So yeah, that's my stats. They're all pretty awesome.
Yeah. Russ said his kids got up before him one morning, spread all his Underworld cards all over the dining room, ran over a few of them. Oh no, we have creases. Well, hopefully they were the Shadespire ones, Russ.
Like I put in there, you've just got to put them up for adoption. There's no other choice.
Yeah, I keep telling you that's not a solution, Pete.
So let's crash on with the next questions in our list. We do tend to go off on a bit of a tangent with these things, so you'll have to bear with us. I'm going to jump down to the bottom because there was an interesting one right at, they're all interesting, but a really interesting one right at the bottom of this list that I wanted to talk about is we have new gear incoming, and what are we going to use it for? So a lot of people on the YouTube side, things any of our patrons will have already seen, but our YouTubers fans won't have seen, that we've recently spent a grand sum of money, over £3,000, on a couple of new PCs.
A £3,000 sum of money.
Yeah, a very large sum, and most of that will be coming from our patrons. So thank you guys for all of your support. We literally couldn't have done this without you. And we've got 2 new machines. They're pretty beefy specs. They've got some pretty nice solid gear in them. And what we're going to use them for? Well, hopefully this channel, what you're seeing right now, it's not great, I'll grant you. It's a bit jittery and a bit blurry and a bit, well, it's got us on it and we can't really improve that bit at all. But what we'll hopefully be doing is building a better stream, so that hopefully we'll be able to rival Blackjack Legacy a little bit on that front. Not that we're going to compete with him in any way, but hopefully we can up the overall experience.
Next week we're streaming Monday at 10 or 9 or whatever time.
8 p.m. till 11 p.m. and we're going to be giving away a game every 5 minutes to anybody watching. But no, so we're going to be doing that. And there's also Warhammer Underworlds, which isn't out yet and we can't stream yet, but we are hoping that we might get onto the beta for that. We've definitely applied, maybe get onto the beta, and then come January next year, it's out for early release, I believe. I presume when it comes out for early release, we'll be able to stream it at that point and play games. And at that stage, we'll hope to be able to start playing some live stuff with that as well. And the other thing we're hoping to do is when we hit the $350 limit on our Patreon, which we're getting close to, it's slowly edging closer, and we're up to about $300 now, I think, a month. We'll start doing some live games, well, maybe one a month, which will be for our Patreon supporters, and we do need the gear for that as well. So hopefully, all of those things will become a reality at the end of this year, early next year. So bring it on, really bring on 2020. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to trying to get some live games. I'm really looking forward to Warhammer Underworlds online. Actually, I went through a period of being a bit cool on it, but I'm looking forward to it again now, and I'm hoping I'll get some time to do some streaming of that. Obviously, because we've got the machines, but I think that'd be good. It'd be good to play Pete, but it'd also be good to play some other people.
Yes. I mean, we've constantly looked at a few other options to play online. There's Tabletop Simulator, and there's I can't remember the other one. It's got a weird name. Can't remember it, but there's another online version which is a more simplified version of the game that you can play. Vassal, that's it. But the problem with those is
I'm trying that, but it's one of those things. Even if it's only a small barrier to entry, it's got a barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Just sitting down and doing it, and so I have not got close.
Not only that, we probably can't stream it because GW probably won't like us using things that they don't like.
That's very true. That's very true.
But Warhammer Underworlds, obviously fully licensed by them, fully supported by them. Very much looking forward to seeing everything come alive in that world, and it'll give us something to harken back to the simpler times of 2017. Because it won't be everything all out at once. It will be Nightfall, Shadespire to start with. And
interesting to go back to that. It'll be interesting to be playing a system where you can't forget to use your abilities, because they'll be sort of hardwired in.
Yeah,
or it'll give you options or whatever.
And as has been pointed out as well as Vassal's it's easy to learn, but it's probably not so much fun to watch live, which I definitely agree with. But I think hopefully Warhammer Online looks so shiny and nice. I think it could still be quite interesting to watch.
Got a few lovely comments here. Jason says he has books full of Warhammer army lists, and his buddy Chad has folders full of characters from many different games. Yes, I was kind of, depending on what age I was in my life, I had both of those over the time. Underworlds is the first workshop game that Russ Bellamy has played. We've played in years, sorry. So it takes a little time or prep. Can play unpainted, no scenery. Yes, I would totally agree with that. I think Andrew agreed with him as well. I think it is the best game.
He does say games only take 30 minutes. I don't think we've ever managed a game in 30 minutes, but we do like to waffle.
In the Grand Clash, we probably did.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. So yeah. But I mean, I think it is the best game. I think it's especially now, Beastgrave. I think it's a really tight rule set, or much tighter rule set, and I just love it. I think it's a really good game. I would play it. I would play it for fun, even if I wasn't streaming it. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, we went to the Grand Clash as well. I mean, we'd neither of us.
Yeah, you'd never get me at a Warhammer tournament.
Ever gone to a tournament, and we both went to not only a Grand Clash at Warhammer World, but the first 2-dayer. Not that we played in the second day at all, but our first experience was the very first 2-dayer, and I definitely wouldn't have done that with 40k or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Have we talked about the Grand Masters Championship and how winning those Grand Clashes can get you travel costs paid for the Grand Master Final next year? No, we haven't. We'll come back to that in a minute.
It will not apply to us. There we go.
With your new computers, will we see Pete's beard in Super HD? That's up to Pete, really. But quite probably. I can't remember who that is with all the numbers and letters.
LXA SX457.
It's one of our patrons, isn't it? I can never
remember your name, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Matt. It says here it's Matt. There we go.
Sorry. Thank you, Matt.
Andrew and Jason talking about Necromunda. I don't even know what Necromunda is anymore. Though I do quite like the look of the new box, but I won't be getting it. And somebody's here for the last 10 minutes. See Mueli from Hamburg. Well, I've been to Hamburg a few times. I've been to Miniature Wonderland with my kids twice.
Not quite as good as Warhammer World.
Well, if you like trains, it's better than Warhammer World. Okay, yeah, lots of people saying basically how Warcry's brought them back and dug out old Shadespire box, and now looking at Beastgrave. That's Marcus, so he's in for Warcry, but hanging on. Beastgrave is brilliant, Marcus. So definitely worth, if you enjoy Shadespire, definitely worth getting on the Beastgrave train.
Definitely,
or get some Beastgravy.
I would love to play Warcry more, because it is so simple to set up, and I love the fact that the mission cards can make the same two warbands fighting each other completely different games every single game. I do love that aspect that they've introduced in Warcry, and I would love to play Necromunda, but it just time is. If the channel no longer existed for whatever reason, I would almost definitely pick up a Necromunda gang as well as those kind of things. But yeah, it's on my list of things I'd love to do but don't have the time to do. But I think the fact that GW are bringing in those kind of smaller model count, smaller play area, smaller time investment requirements is just, I mean, they obviously know that that's where there's a big market of people who want to play. All of us like 40s and, you know, around that kind of age with kids, you've not got the time that you did when you were in your teens or whatever, where you could theoretically spend all weekend playing a single game of Warhammer on a massive table with 30,000 points, but you couldn't afford the models, so you just cut everything out on bits of paper. Now we could possibly afford the models, but there's no way we could actually get the time investment.
I used my dad's Napoleonic figures.
It's a good idea, actually.
Lots of old plastic Napoleonic cavalry I used to be the riders of Rohan.
Yeah, and Ed does point out, just to add in there at that point, Middle-earth battle companies, just saying.
Sorry, Ed, you're right, I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you, Ed.
Stop it.
Stop winking at me.
I was really tempted to buy some of the... there was just one that had a load of goblins, and I think it was just a goblin warband thing, and I just thought you could knock those out in like a couple of hours with some contrast paints, just some dark greens and a silver and a black. But no, I'm not doing it.
Well, Christmas is coming. That's what I'm going to say.
There was another. I think I missed a comment in here somewhere. Andrew says that he's going to the Grand Clash, but he's having the second day off. And I think we're probably going to be having the second day off as well, because
I think what Andrew means is he's going to be there. But you nearly qualified, didn't you, Andrew? So you might qualify.
He came close.
Yeah.
I think we'll be there for the second day, but we're probably not going to get involved in the skirmish thing, because you've got to play almost more games on the Sunday than you do on the Saturday. But they're all one-off games, which in some ways is more work, because then you've got to play 6 different people.
Yeah. I think I don't want to particularly take part in that. I've said that to Pete already. I kind of feel that one day is enough for me.
Yeah.
I'd much rather play. Plus, we've got to get home. It's quite a long way home. And anyway,
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Because if you
You
play
never know. I might win all my games on the Saturday.
yeah, well,
I'll have to play on Sunday.
you never know. Then you'll be sorry,
Marcus
won't
has
you?
said he hasn't watched all of our bet reps yet, but what's our take on faction-specific decks so far? It's one of the things that making me want to get Beastgrave. I think it's a brilliant way to play the game. Jury's still out on whether the bands are created equally. I'm not sure the Despoilers are as good as the Grimwatch, for example.
I definitely think it goes Grimwatch, Wild Hunt, Despoilers at the minute with Warbands.
Yeah, but it's a really good way to play. And if you're and I find it really I think we've commented on a previous live stream. I find it really refreshing actually because when things aren't going very well with the deck you've built, there's a tend to be kind of like, oh God, why did I build this crap?
Why did I bother? Why did I even get up?
You kind of you haven't got any of that recrimination when you haven't built the deck. When you just use the cards, it's actually I feel a bit freer playing it. It's kind of almost like a different part of the game is actually working out the best way to make these set cards work, and I really like that. And I like them to run competitions that should just faction-specific cards. I don't think they're going to, or Games Workshop I don't think are going to. Maybe other stores will, but I think it's definitely a way to play, and as more come out, it'll be interesting to see if there's a definite hierarchy or whether it's sort of mix and match. I think it'd be very hard to get total parity across the way. There's always going to be 2 or 3 that are better than the others, but it'll be interesting to see whether people can win with them.
You might find
against
that some
strongest
warbands
ones
do better against other warbands. And that while at the minute we've only got 3 and it's very clearly obvious which one's the best and which one's the worst, as more warbands get added in, some might do better against others and worse against others, so that might become a bit more of a fluid table of ranking at that point. Maybe you never know.
Yeah.
Ross Bellamy did ask a question that we kind of missed, which is, does everyone find Beastgrave more action packed than Shadespire and Nightvault? And yes, or at least I find that it bakes my brain a lot more than
I missed that question too. Yeah, I think it's more interesting. I don't know whether action-packed is the right word. I feel like I roll less dice and play more cards, which I think is a good thing. I really like the way the game is shifted to be a bit more tactical rather than just charge.
Well, I think you said
charge through league picks.
especially when we went in the Grand Clash in the summer, it was nearly all, unless you had like a Tombs deck or something off the wall, you were pretty much just going for an offensive deck of some kind. And there were some people played games, I think you played a game where you hadn't even turned over the objective counters.
Yeah, that happened more than once. That happened more than once with more than one opponent. We actually forgot to turn over the objective,
just highlights
which is a sign of the design. A sign of the design is wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, when you've got this whole element of the game and no one even bothers with it.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't happen now. I'd like to go back to Matt's question about the Grandmasters Championships.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, I haven't got a lot to say about it because, to be honest, I don't really think it affects me. But
no.
I think it's a really great thing for Games Workshop to do. I love the fact that you get your accommodation and travel, I think, paid if you win the Grand Clash. I definitely have views about who I would like to win that. And
we have some contenders on our Patreon page. Our
we do.
Some of our Patreon supporters, all of the all those people winning glass, they're Patreon supporters of ours.
Yeah, so. That's absolutely true. I think most of our Grand Clash winners live in the US, and the final is going to be in the US, isn't it? Not that means travel and accommodation definitely cheap anyway, because the US I've heard is quite a big place. And but I'd love to. Is there an Australian one? I'd love to know if they could get an Australian contender over there. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Well, we do have some Aussie watchers as well. So one of you guys, if you win it, if you could just give a thanks to us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see whether because Jamie hasn't. I don't know if Jamie went to the last. Jamie, the Cat of Frame Reddit guys, Jamie Giblin. I don't know if he went to the last Grand Clash. It'd be interesting to see whether he comes out of not retirement, but to come out and try and win it. And Bryce, he won one, didn't he? It'd be interesting to see whether he comes back. The lure of the.
Well, I mean, it's big event. It definitely makes it a bit more serious if people say, if you can win these games, we will pay to send you to America and put you up in a hotel and stuff.
To play the best. I mean, it would be great to see one of the good British guys play one of the good American guys or Australian guys. That would be interesting to watch, I think. Yeah.
So we were both just reading the commentary. I think saw some Cat Frames decks with Mollog and Skellies and Scave, and I'm kind of. I kind of steer away from those kind of like the Cataphrane relic decks and stuff like that. I don't like that. I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm not a massive fan of those, but they definitely are.
Yeah,
They're definitely
they can play tomes, can't they?
yeah, they're definitely a style. It's not one that we tend to play because I mean, you have played tomes, just as a can you do it kind of thing, but we wouldn't pick that generally on a day-to-day basis for all of our games.
So I think it's good for the game, the championships. But okay, I don't really feel like I'm going to be featuring. It'll be interesting to see whether it gets a bit more cutthroat. I'm not sure it will. The Underworlds scene is pretty friendly, but
I think there's always a general level of friendly cutthroatedness where people are always trying to.
Oh yeah, obviously people want to win, but we haven't heard like the situation with Keyforge, where somebody was caught cheating at the national championship. Didn't shuffle their cards when they were meant to, or did shuffle them when they weren't. I can't remember which way around it was.
They had the discard pile. They turned it over. They looked at effectively the top 5 cards and then sort of, yeah, that's all right, I'll leave them, and didn't shuffle them. Because you don't have to shuffle the cards, but you're obviously not allowed to look at them just before you make that decision.
Right.
Or I think that's right. I think you can opt to just turn your deck over. I don't know if you have to shuffle it or not. But
somebody's asked if we've played any 3 or 4 player games.
Sadly not.
Well, you know what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's what I'm going to say. No, we haven't.
No, sadly not. I think the problem we have is all our recording happens in Robin's garage, and especially at this time of year, I don't think we'd want to invite people in. Because I think last week it got up to about 13 degrees and we had the heater on the whole time.
Chilly, yeah.
So we'll have to apologise in advance for the heater noise that you'll be able to hear in the background whilst we're playing the game, because it's either that.
Our other regular player, Stu, he doesn't know how to play. So he plays other games with us. He doesn't know. So would be a bit rubbish playing with 2 people who know how to play. Maybe if we ever get some nice weather and a couple of people who know how to play, maybe we'll play a game.
Well, we did have Simon came onto the channel once and we played some games against him. I think we went a bit mental on that one because I think we played 4 games against him. That poor man had to play 4 games in a row in the space of about 3 hours or something like that. So
he said he was happy, although I haven't seen him for a long time. So.
He's just left since. Loved it. I'm never doing that ever again.
Yeah,
but it was great as well. So
it's
definitely
coming up to 5. Sorry, it's coming to 5:11. Pete, are there any more questions?
Well, there might be a few, but I'm sure we can keep those to next week. But I think we've covered them all now. Actually, the only other questions: how long has the Adrian Sigmar's been going for? 3 years. We're 3 years old. 3 years old and a little bit.
3 years, 1 month.
Yep. So hopefully by 4 years we'll have hit 6,000 subscribers, maybe.
Brilliant, yeah.
We're nearly at 4,200 now, so it's getting there. And the last question was: there any board games or card games that you recommend, especially any that take no more than 45 minutes for an hour to play? And sadly, all the games that I play are mostly sort of kids games, mostly games that you've recommended, Robin. So,
well, I recommend at the moment I'm loving Copenhagen by Queen Games, which is it's a bit like Azul, which is a good game as well that you can play in under 45 minutes. But Copenhagen, you have to build the windows on the tall, long houses in Copenhagen, and you get various points depending on how you arrange them. They're like Tetris tiles. You have to you fit them in, and you kind of bid for the ones that you want, the tiles that you want, and then you have to make them fit. And depending on where you put the windows, you score points. That's a really good game. So that's Copenhagen. That's a good one.
I liked Secret Hitler, but you need about 6 people to play that, and it's not.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one. I've got reservations about that. I'm not that I've played it, but just reading about it. But I really like Oink Games. Don't know if anybody's heard of Oink Games. They do a game called Deep Sea Adventure, which is a lovely small game, really easy to play and really good fun. And it's a kind of push your luck game. I think it's got like 2 to 8 players or something crazy like that. And they do another game that I played at Tabletop Gaming Live called 9 Tile Rush, I think, where basically each person has 9 cards and they have to make a road out of them. They've got like tracks on them, but there are various other things on them, and each game you have to do different things. Like you might have to do a piece of road that's a certain length, or you might have to have a certain number. You might score points for the number of aliens using your roads because the cards are double-sided, so depending on which way around you put them. So you have to do it as fast as you possibly can, trying to build whatever it says that you have to do. That's a really fun game, and I love Love Letter. It's kind of like a fallback one.
I'm not sending you any more love letters.
That's really fun. It's quite an easy game for people who don't play games. And Code Names, my wife likes Code Names. We play that.
I like Code Names, and there was the one that you, me, and not Stu played, which was to do with the fireworks.
Oh, Hanabi.
Yeah, you don't know what cards you've got, but the other people can
Hanabi's
see.
great fun.
That was great fun as well. So,
Yeah.
they're all good suggestions there. All the other
Hanabi.
games I play tend to be sort of like kids-based ones, like Go Nuts for Donuts and stuff like that, which is still a great game. But
I wonder if we could play Hanabi on stream. That might be hilarious with all the watchers, all the viewers knowing what each of us had, but us no. But I don't know how that would work. Potentially it could be great if we could work out how to do the cameras. It would be good. Well, when I take an Oko Ed, that's a good game.
Yeah, the camera angles would be the tricky part for that thing, as is always the way with that kind of stuff, because we'd have to have 3 cameras, one sort of like on each of us or something like that. But I mean, you wouldn't need an overhead shot.
Nobody could see in the camera what they had.
Yes,
I've also just picked up Sushi Roll recently. I don't know if anybody's any fans of Sushi Go, but Sushi Roll is really good fun. It's a dice rolling version of Sushi Go. That's good fun. And I've just bought Ganz schön clever, which is I think German, but it looks like Uber Yahtzee, but I haven't actually got it out of the box.
Yahtzee.
Exactly.
Did you roll like 50 dice.
Complicated Yahtzee. So I'm quite looking forward to playing that. And Batman Miniatures game 3 to 9. I haven't played I really want to play the Batman Miniatures game. I think there's a 3rd edition coming out, but I don't know that we've got time. I've always wanted to play it on the channel, but I don't know if we've got time. But that said, I am in negotiations with Asmodee to see whether they'll send us a copy of Crisis Protocol, which is a Marvel kind of skirmish game, which would be pretty cool.
I love the fact that you term it that we're in negotiations. Are you just sending them begging emails?
I sent them a begging email, and the guy replied that he would send me a copy.
Ooh.
But it hasn't arrived, and there's many a slip twixt cup and lip. But we'll see.
The other thing that I'm looking forward to doing with our PCs as well is being able to hopefully play and it's sort of in line a bit with the 3 to 4 player games and getting other people involved, is being able to play against you guys, the community, a bit more, maybe with things like Warhammer Underworlds, or I'm also looking forward to maybe getting back into Blood Bowl a little bit, so that is much easier on the PC and playing a bit of that, both streaming and maybe playing against other people. So
Pete is still hoping to get me to play Blood Bowl.
There's a Bretonian team, Robin. You can choose the colours.
So I've heard.
No, maybe not.
I tell you, I've got more chance of playing the Middle-earth strategy game than I have playing Blood Bowl.
Yeah, true.
But maybe online I could maybe do it.
Well, it's a lot easier online. At least you just click things and click around, and it just does.
And then maybe if I learn what I was doing online, then it might translate to the tabletop. That way, it might be better.
Yeah, possibly. You never know. Yeah. Jason says he'd love that. I'm not sure what he'd love. What would you love? The game or? And it depends on how we feel about lewd Blood Bowl player names. Well, they've got to be, right? Yeah, I mean, if the Blood Bowl player names aren't sort of slightly dodgy and suggestive.
I'm presuming the Bretonians would be double entendre.
Well, yeah, you've got to. I mean, it's a must-have. So I think that's it. I think we're probably done for tonight. C. Muley says Blood Bowl Heart. He's in a local league. Made a tiny little Blood Bowl world. Yeah, I just think... Jason would love to play games with us. We would love to play games with you too, Jason. I would love to play games against everybody I possibly can. I did play against one of our Patreon supporters, and he was in Oz, and I remember he had got up like 6 or 5 a.m. to play a game against me on Tabletop Simulator, and we had to try about 3 or 4 times. We had to keep restarting it because the game kept crashing, and at one point I felt so bad because I was like, if it doesn't work, this guy's got up at like 6 a.m. to play this game, and we did eventually play the game, and I think he beat me just so. But it was great to play against somebody, and it was just not to have to sit in a garage at 11 o'clock at night in the freezing cold. And
I think, Jason, if you win a Grand Clash and one of us wins a Grand Clash, then we'll play each other in the US at Nova. How does that sound?
I mean,
it's a foolproof plan, really.
Yeah. I mean, if he wins a Grand Clash and you win a Grand Clash and I win a Grand Clash, then we'll have a 3-way player game.
I think there's as much chance of that as me having a 3-way, to be honest.
Probably slightly less. Because it involves me winning a Grand Clash, which means I'd have to roll dice, and that makes it even less likely. Ed says we could try MTG Arena if we dare. I don't think I could ever get into that.
Jason doesn't play tournaments.
That's right, Jason. I play in tournaments. I still can't win them.
Getting to play the Ages of Sigmar, then, are you, Jason? That's all I'm going to say.
Come on, man. Doesn't matter. I played in a tournament. I did abs. We both did. We did.
Yeah, yeah.
So what can we say? So I think we're calling
Anyway.
it there for tonight, guys. So thank you very much for coming along. If you are not a Patreon supporter, do consider it. Check it out. You get lots of free games on there and other stuff as well. So hopefully we were entertaining. If there is stuff you would like us to talk about next time, then do pop a question if you're a Patreon supporter in the channel, and we will definitely add those to our list.
Definitely. And Extreme Community says it makes us happy to see us thinking so hard about all the games. We need more time. That's really nice to know you guys need more time, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it seems really, not odd, that's the wrong word, but kind of like literally things go straight out of our heads, out of our mouths, and you guys enjoying listening to them I find it quite humbling.
Yes, I think we say it a lot. We've said it before, and hopefully everybody still knows that it just is very odd, and we are very humbled by the fact that everybody likes watching our channel and supporting us on Patreon and stuff like that as well. It's just crazy.
Yeah, Tuesday evenings are becoming a bit of a highlight for me now. Our live chats. It's like chatting with friends.
Tuesday always good fun,
especially when you all start nattering to each other in the comments as well. That's really nice. I love
that. I really do. And Wednesday nights is also Wednesday. It's time for games.
Yeah, although do you not get that feeling at about 8 o'clock? It's like, oh, do I really have to do this? It's cold out there.
I'm already in your garage wondering where you are.
That's true. Well, I really have to do this pizza out there.
Still freezing out of the garage. No, for me, normal.
Next week, we might be on Monday.
Oh, yes.
Because it's parents' evening in Brooksland next week, and so I might be a bit busy. But so we might play. We might be on Monday, but Pete will put up the announcement either on Saturday or Sunday about when the next live chat will be.
Once we know what's going on. Yeah, we will update you all.
Mondays are kind of a bit awkward because it's the same night as Blackjack Legacy, but we'll try and do it after he's done most of his. So, and then last time we had a bit of a pile on, which was quite nice. So there are different bonuses, but I don't want to tread on his toes because he's better than us.
Sadly.
Yeah.
So we'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we shall see you soon in the Beastgrave.